Alright. So, I'm going to do a quick book review on this. This is called A Scout's Calling, A Soul's Calling, blah, by Scott Bishop. And this is about a guy named Scott. It's a memoir about Scott and how he deals with nature, and he hikes this trail in the Himalayas. He also speaks to this spirit, and they have a contract, and he travels the Himalaya and ends up traveling and having a purpose and finding his purpose, or the spirit's purpose, in the mountains and stuff. It's a really pretty good book. I don't think it's like the best book, but I do think it's a pretty good book. Now, the plot, I already told you, it's a memoir. So, the next one is the characters. The characters, we have Scott, who's the main character. We have Tayshay, who's a guide, which I grew to love him, like, throughout the book. Like, I hated him at first. Not I hated him, but I just was aggravated with him. Just as the author was aggravated with him. But towards the end, and it was just this simplicity of this person. You kind of have you share this connection with them, and he's not your relative, but you share that connection, and you have this relationship because he is traveling on this hike with you and showing you around, and he's a guide, so he's showing you everything, and it's just really interesting. I thought it was intriguing to know what his goals were and dreams were and everything. It was just really great. The next character is Pradakash. Pradakash was the porter, and porters basically, what they do is they go and they hike from a different area, and they find a lodge or a cabin where people visit and stay in and sleep, and so that the visitor has a place to sleep and stuff like that. So it's really interesting. What I really liked about this book was the culture and the hiking. So it happens in the Himalayas. So I really liked the fact that they talked about the hike and how Scott really struggled a lot on the hike. He felt weak, and he was, scared. He didn't want to, he's afraid of heights, so it's really interesting when he has to climb this huge ladder, and he's like, oh no, I don't want to do this, and then he does it, and it's like an accomplishment. So it's really good that he has accomplished this specific thing, even though, his interactions with a soul or a spirit, his interaction with the spirit is different or his interaction with the other world is different. Two other characters that were in this book that I forgot to mention was Spirit, who's basically a spirit that travels and has a contract with Scott, and M, who's like kind of an advisor, but in the spiritual world. So it's more like, he has these connections to these other spirits and can talk to them and stuff. Another thing I really enjoyed about this book was the culture of the Himalayans and how they ate like yak every day, and imagining them, because they have to like let the yak thaw out or something, like before they eat it or cook it. And it's also interesting about other foods they eat and how they mix everything together into this huge flavorful, well, not really flavorful food, but it's just really good. And like the food part. Also, I thought it was interesting that these people, these villages, and they might be smaller villages all around, through the hikes. Sometimes there might be one house in the middle of nowhere, and it's quite interesting how they have to, have live like that, and not live in such poor conditions. And also about the porter and the guide. The guide speaks English, or better English, but he doesn't speak complete grammatical correct English. Like, he knows how to understand English, but he doesn't really, sometimes he doesn't understand English, so it's interesting how the guys don't really understand English, and that the porters don't understand English at all, and this is how they're making their money for their family, supporting their family by being a guide. I mean, it's really an interesting concept right there, an interesting idea of, and how they treat their customers first. So the customer who's going on this tour, and I'm the guide, I would have to tell the customer, okay, you eat first, and then I'll eat after you. And that's kind of the tradition, and it's really interesting, because guys don't get a pay for porters' pay, and then along the way there's some alternating rule changing. But it's really interesting. It's just really interesting how they don't treat their own people with the respect that they treat these customers to go into, and stuff. Another thing that, and those are the things I really liked. I really also thought it was really interesting how Scott talks about how everything's kind of connected, like kind of in Circle of Life. If you've seen The Lion King and you've heard the Circle of Life, saying everything's connected, like to each other. The antelope is connected, and the lion eats the antelope, and the antelope eats the grass. That's kind of like being connected, It's a food chain, but it's connected in some way. So you have, you're eating the essence of the spirit, But in this book, it's almost like the rivers connected, the mountains are connected, the streams, the twigs, the branches, the sticks, everything has a spirit or a soul, and they all connect together. And it's interesting because some people believe in some religions that what is it called? Some people believe in that everything has a spirit, and I don't really necessarily believe that, but I just thought that was an interesting take of it. I also liked how there was a lot of friendship in the book. I felt like there was a lot of friendship, and there was hardships in the book. Like, Scott explains his hardships with spirit, although it's a hindrance, but he also explains some of the other stuff, like how he couldn't get Jen to go out with him, and Jen is the character that he has a crush on, and he tries to go out with her, and just, their souls are together. Their souls are awesome together, but she's influenced by other people, and it's really interesting in that. And I also like when he performs, and he performs rituals and stuff. So I actually think that he's like someone who believes in that everything has a soul. It's a really good book. I probably would rate it a C though, because I did not I had no experience dealing with spirits, so a C to me would be the best that, or actually 3 out of 5 stars if you want to do stars. Because it didn't quite. I didn't go into this. I went into this book not knowing what it was about, and I thought, oh, it's going to be about someone climbing Mount Everest, and it wasn't really like that. It was about a guy who was trekking to complete his purpose that his spirit or the spirit wanted him to, because spirit could then stop the abomination or apocalypse from happening in heaven. And I absolutely think this is an enjoyable book and that people should read it. But if you are not religious, or if you are not religious, I think you should read this book. If you're religious and have a certain religion, I think it's like an insight, but it's not really like a book to really read. So, with that saying, I have already rated this, and yeah, so farewell.